Hey guys, I uploaded this video not that long ago, December 31, with my GTX 1060 and 6700K getting 200, well up to 200 FPS and a little bit higher in Dota, and sitting on what looks like around 180 here, 190. And I had a bunch of people actually message me and comment asking how I'm getting this kind of performance with my setup. And the main ones I can think of are I've got my FPS unlocked and I've got my graphics card drivers on max performance. So with the FPS unlocked thing, I've actually tried telling people how to do it, but I figured I might as well make a tutorial because it's easier to follow than just simple text, like simple text instructions. So you can actually see what I did, and I'll also go touch on a few other things that might be affecting people's FPS that they don't know about. And yeah, so this will just be a quick tutorial video on how to improve your Dota 2 performance if you've got a fairly powerful setup and you're not getting decent FPS, which everyone with a GTX 1060 or higher, or 970 even, should be. But I think this issue is affecting mainly the newer cards because of the dynamic GPU boost. I think the architecture or something has changed where if you limit the FPS in a game, you'll get lower average FPS than if you just have it unlocked. And that's with or without the max performance turned on. So max performance is in the drivers. You just go to manage 3D settings, and you can set this global for all your games, or go to program settings and add individual games. I know that this setting affects Battlefield 1, Diablo 3, and Dota 2, and CSGO. So all of them will benefit from this fix as well, which is the procedure is a little bit different in CSGO. You got to use its own custom configuration files, but I'll just do Dota 2 here in this video. So you want your display acceleration on single. If you're using one display, it defaults to multiple. I don't think this matters too much because obviously Nvidia thought it's fine to leave on multiple. But power management, they also default to optimal power, which means that the card will try to save money, I guess, on your power bill. So you can set this to prefer maximum performance, and that'll ensure that your card's trying to push the highest FPS it can, provided it's not limited by the game. So the other ones for that are disabling VSync in game, so you can leave this alone and just use the game switch for it. And the CFG file, which is here, 86. So you can see the address at the top. Just follow that to get to the right place. Steam apps, common, Dota 2 beta, game, Dota, CFG. So in here, there won't be an autoexec.cfg file if you haven't made one before. So I'll just show you how to create it. So you want to go at the top, view, click on options, and in options go to view, and for most people this box will be checked, hide extensions for known file types. And what that'll look like is this. So you might see a few extensions, but most of them will be hidden, especially for the CFG files. So you want to show them, and that'll give you the full extension. And then you want to create a txt file, just a text document, name it autoexec. You can change it to CFG straight away, and it'll pop up like that. And if you try to open it and it doesn't let you open it, just go to open with and find your notepad. And so it's as simple as that. So you go to autoexec.cfg and put these commands in. I'm not sure about the bottom two if they still work with Dota 2 Reborn with the latest 7.0 update. But the main one you want is FPS max. I think this will help with any mouse acceleration in the game, so it'll make your mouse feel more accurate if they're still doing any smoothing with it. Engine no focus sleep stops the game from dropping to like 0 FPS when you alt tab out and you're playing in full screen mode. So I was having issues. I'd alt tab out and then I'd alt tab back, and then it would be like a black screen for like a few seconds, or sometimes it wouldn't even come back and I'd have to alt tab again. And this basically fixed it for me. And then there's disable camera zoom. If you don't use the zoom, you can still use the like action camera. That I can't remember what the shortcut was, but I don't use the zoom at all, so that'll disable it for me. And then you just want to save it, and after you've done that, go to Dota in your Steam library, right click, properties, set launch options, and I've got a few other mouse related, because I really hate mouse acceleration or mouse smoothing, which is also in a control panel of your computer. If you don't know about this, then here it is. In pointer options, I think this is in check. This is checked on most PCs by default, and what it does is it changes the tracking of the mouse, like it doesn't feel accurate, and it messes with it, especially if you play like shooter games like Counter-Strike. And you basically want to uncheck that and put the slider on 6, and then adjust your mouse sensitivity using your mouse drivers or in-game, you know, the mouse sensitivity slider manually. And for me that feels the best, but anyway, back to the fix. You want these commands. So plus exec, auto exec, basically that tells it to use the configuration file we just made. Console lets you bring up console in game so that you can enter commands. Like you can just Google Dota 2 console commands. There's a bunch of them. And any commands that you want to change on the fly, like if you want to try testing the different FPS max settings, you could try FPS underscore max 150 or 100 and see how it affects your system's performance. Because for some people that have a weak CPU, setting a lower FPS cap might actually help with CPU usage and prevent stutter. So, but that's a separate thing altogether. No vid disables the intro vid, and high puts Dota on high priority, so it can help if you've got background tasks that might be interfering with your game performance. As you can see in my tray, I've got Afterburner, Core Temp, which is very small. Normally I won't be running Bitcomet at the same time, and my mouse drivers, which haven't affected any of my games, so, and OBS. But if you've got other stuff, you can this setting will be more important, I guess. And then yeah, launch your game and see if your FPS is sitting higher, and hopefully it helps a bunch of people, especially those with GTX 1060s, 1070s, maybe even RX cards. And what else can I show people? The other thing is there is another fix, I think it's called Mark C mouse fix, that helps with mouse accuracy in Windows. It still works in Windows 10 apparently. Yeah, Mark C mouse acceleration fix. Basically there's some bug in Windows that affects the mouse sensitivity, and if you don't know you need it, then you don't need it. But if you want your mouse as accurate as possible, then search this, Google this, and click it, and you can read through it there. Like there's no point in me reading the whole thing out. But you basically download a zip file, and it's got a regedit, and you can check the registry edit thing that it gives you just by right clicking it. Here, I've actually got it downloaded. But depending on your system's DPI, so depending on what resolution you're running, in advanced display, is it even in here? I'm probably in the wrong spot. Depending on your DPI setting, oh well, it's right here. You can change the size of your icons and everything depending on the size of your display and your resolution. But basically, if you're running at default 100%, you go to Windows 10 or Windows 7, whichever version of Windows you're using. Look for the one that matches your DPI. You've got your mouse set on 6 of 11 in in control panel mouse options, and you basically double click it, and it'll ask, can it put these values into your registry? And to check like that it's legit, you can go to Notepad and see what it says in there. So just open with Notepad. And you can see in Notepad, it's got the exact keys. Like, obviously it gets a bit technical. Like, I don't know what any of this stuff is, but I know it's to do with the mouse settings. There's nothing malicious in here. And enter that, yes, and click OK. And your mouse, after the next reboot, your mouse might feel a little bit better, especially if you play first-person shooter games. And you know, it's got the same fixes in here, and inside the fixes, in the folder with the fixes, it's also got the default. So if you don't like it, you can just double-click this one, and it'll set it back to how it was. So that's another tweak. And the last one I'll show you is in services. There's a game killer service that, like, I think it's turned on with some systems by default. It depends what version of Windows 10 you're running. But there are services that will just be running in the background that you don't need, and they can affect your system's performance. The main ones are the Xbox Live services. If you're not using Xbox Live, like, I've uninstalled Xbox Live, so it doesn't come up. But if you're not using it, you can disable these and it'll just stop them running in the background. Windows biometric service, shadow copy, I'd probably leave those alone if you don't know what they do. It's to do with recovery. So if you aren't running a backup or don't use recovery, then you can disable these and you'll save some space. Retail demo service was, I think it was left on manual or auto in mine, a manual, and I just disabled it because I'm not running a retail demo. And then there's Maps Manager, geolocation, and connected user experiences telemetry, which is the service that sends data back to Microsoft. So if you don't want to send data to Microsoft, you can disable that pretty safely. And the rest of them, it really depends on what you're using your computer for. Like, if you've got a portable laptop or something, then it might not be a good idea to disable the sensors on it, because that's to do with device orientation. So yeah, so there's those, and then there's another hidden one that if you can find a service in here called Game DVR and you don't use it, disable it. It's to do with the built-in Windows 10 game recording. For some people it's enabled by default, and what that does is, especially in Battlefield 1, it kills performance, and I'm assuming it might affect performance in Dota 2 as well. So with Game DVR, you just Google disable Windows Game DVR, and it's got a whole guide in here that you can go through. Oh wait, wrong link. Let's see, which link? The third link. Nope. Sorry. Oh, we'll just go to the Steam link. I mean, that's trustworthy. They've even got this on Steam, because they'll actually tell you that this app hurts performance in some games. There'll be a pop-up that'll say, "Do you want to disable Xbox DVR?" Because it can hurt performance. I think Dota 2 asks you, and CS:GO asks you. But if you don't know about it, or if yours never asked you, then this is the manual way to disable it. Down here at the bottom, you just open regedit, registry editor, and you go to these addresses and disable. So HKey current user, system, game config store, and game DVR enabled. You want it to be on 0, and it'll be on 1 by default, unless you've already disabled it. And then go to HKey local machine, software, policies, Microsoft, Windows, and here you want to right click Windows and go to new key, and that'll create a new folder. So you go to new key and put in game DVR, and that'll create a folder. Well, they're keys, but they look like folders in here, called game DVR. And inside game DVR, you want to go to new dword value 32-bit and call it allow game DVR, and then set the value to 0 and click OK, and that completely disables game DVR in your system. And if anyone was having issues separate to the ones I've already gone through, then that could also be one of them. So yeah, that's it guys. I hope I helped some people, or at least gave a thorough explanation on what I've done on my system to get the performance that I'm getting. Obviously it's not going to work for everyone. If there's other differences in systems between mine and someone else's, then obviously they could also be a cause. Like you could have slight system instability after overclock and you haven't stability tested with the right apps properly. Your RAM can actually be unstable even though it performs perfectly fine in almost every single game or the apps that you use, and you're not getting any crashes or anything. But then you can run memtest86, which is a memory testing program, and you could find that your RAM's coming up with errors in memtest86, and that could be leading to your FPS problems. In which case you'd have to adjust your RAM voltage, or change the frequency so that it's more stable, unless your RAM's faulty, in which case you have to replace the RAM. So there's little things like that can be, like, you could have tried every single fix on the planet and it's not a software problem, it's actually something to do with your hardware configuration. And I'll just show my system here so you can actually see the rec specs. And there's another one for GTX 1070 and 1080 users. There was overheating VRMs with certain EVGA cards or EVGA cards. Here we go. 1070, 1080, and they released a fix for this. I think it was a BIOS update or something. Thermal pad mod requests. So there was a, yeah, you can check your serial number here. This is to do with, I don't know the exact procedure. Yeah, they've got BIOSes here you can install if you're running any of these cards. So, oh, it even goes down to the GTX 1060 models. I did not know that. Memory temperatures running warmer than normal. Okay, so as you can see, this is another one that you could overlook if you're running an EVGA card and you didn't know about this, because not everyone checks hardware websites and they just get a new system. It's got an EVGA card, and they're actually having overheating VRMs or memory on the card that that's causing performance issues, but it only happens in certain games, and that can just manifest itself as low FPS. So that's another one there, and yeah, this is my system specs. 6700K. It's overclocked to 4.5, but I've got power saving on, so it clocks down when I'm not gaming. And my main board is Z170A Gaming Pro. It's my memory. It runs at 3100 megahertz, and there's the timings I run it on. And it's two 8 gig sticks in dual channel. So as you can see, it says dual channel here. So you can install CPU-Z. And this is another one. If you're running a Pascal card and you've got a single RAM stick in single channel, because you need 2 sticks for dual channel, your memory bandwidth will essentially be half of what someone running dual channel is getting. So say if dual channel gives you 30,000 Mbps bandwidth, single channel will be closer to 15,000. And when you're running a high-end card or even a GTX 1060, having half the RAM bandwidth will actually hurt your performance severely, especially in a game that uses heavy CPU and heavy GPU at the same time, because it needs bandwidth for both components. And I've had a bunch of people message me about this on Battlefield 1 especially, and they're saying, I've got an RX 480 or I've got a GTX 1070 and 1080 and you're getting better FPS than me. And I've always asked, what RAM are you running? And nearly every time that they've been running single channel RAM, I've told them, get a second stick, and it's helped. It's basically fixed their performance. Even with an i7 4790K, which is an older CPU, they asked me about it, and it was a fix for them as well. But I think they actually had 2 sticks of RAM, just that it was in the wrong slots. And when they changed it over and got it in dual channel, because you need your RAM in the correct slots, you can't have them next to each other. Usually there's a 1 slot gap on your motherboard for running dual channel. And yeah, so it's been the fix for a bunch of people, just to make sure their RAM's configured properly. And you can see the brand here is G-Skill, and that's the model of RAM I'm running. It's actually rated for 3200, but if you buy overclocked RAM, which is what anything running higher than the stock rated speeds for your CPU is, it's overclocked, results will vary. So it depends on your CPU, how high you're running your own overclock, and what kind of voltages you're running, and the memory controller on the CPU as to whether you can run really fast RAM. And I found I couldn't get it to run at 3200 without putting heaps of voltage into my memory controller, so I settled for a more like safe voltage and put it to 3100 megahertz, which is a double data rate. So that's what DDR stands for, which is why it shows as 1600 here. You've got to double it to get the actual speed that you're running at. So 1600 is actually 3100. And yeah, that's my GPU. And I'll drag this video out a little further. One more thing that you might want to check up on is monitor your temps while you're gaming, not just your CPU but your GPU, because both of them have built-in fail-safes to prevent thermal damage when they get too hot. And my GPU never hurt its performance running at 70 degrees, but I set a custom fan profile in because it was hitting 70 under load, and I set a custom fan profile in MSI Afterburner. I don't even get into it. To like, normally it doesn't spin up until over 50 degrees, but I set a custom profile that just ramps it straight up to 70. So my fan doesn't spin up until 50, and then if it goes over 50, it'll go straight up to 70, 80, 90, well before 70 degrees. And now my load temps are like 55 degrees. So, and my idle temps are, well, 50, 51, and my fan doesn't even turn on. So that could be helpful to some people too, because if your temps were getting too hot, like if your case didn't have good ventilation and your temps were hitting 80, 90, your card will clock itself down to a lower speed to stop itself overheating, and that'll also hurt your performance. So you can use a custom fan profile to fix it, or you can improve your case ventilation. And your CPU works the same way. If your CPU is getting like 80 to 90 degrees, you can go into your BIOS and set, or use I think there's a fan speed that you can control from within Windows. But you basically want to run your CPU fan faster, or upgrade your CPU cooling if you're hitting like over 75, 80 degrees during gaming, because that can also cause your CPU to clock down and again hurt your performance. So yeah, hope I helped some people, and sorry for dragging this video out so long, but I just realized there's a bunch of extra fixes and possible causes that I actually don't touch on when I give people reply comments in my YouTube channel. So I wanted to go through as much as I can. Alright, have fun gaming, guys, and thanks for watching my video. Sub if you like this kind of content, or hit like if you like it. If you didn't like it, hit dislike, and I appreciate all the views I get. Thank you. See ya.